Okay, so welcome. My name is Lee Hayhurst. I am the editorial director at Aviation Business News. I am here in the ABN studio in London. Joining me, we're going to talk about loyalty in this episode. And joining me is Mike Putman, who is the chief executive of Custom Travel Solutions. He's joining us from South Carolina, all the way from South Carolina. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you, Lee. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for giving us your time today. Just by way of intro, just tell us about the company you work for, Custom Travel Solutions. What is it you do, and who you're working with in the travel sector?
Okay, very good. So I'm Mike Putman. I'm the CEO and founder of Custom Travel Solutions. We provide travel subscription services, travel transactional services. We have hotel APIs, and we have consolidated a lot of supply, and we provide white label solutions for people that want to sell travel, but primarily around subscription products, loyalty products.
Okay, so subscriptions have been kind of a growing thing, I think, in travel recently. I know over in Europe, a very large OTA called eDreams is very much, well, in fact, it calls itself a subscriptions company these days rather than a travel company.
Yes.
There's been a few startups I've seen come along, basing themselves purely on the subscription model. Why is subscriptions in travel got potential? I know it's a growing area, but why in particular travel and subscription?
So first of all, I've been in the travel space for 40 years, and I started when I was 19, so I'm not quite that old, but I'm not young either. But have been early on when travel and distribution with CRSs, which are now called GDSs, were kind of early in the time, and certainly prior to internet. But I was one of the pioneers in travel in the internet space. And I saw and got to be part of this big travel distribution explosion. And one of the outputs was that later on in my career, I saw this kind of gravitation towards subscription services in our general life, not just in travel, but if you think of Netflix, you think of Amazon, Subscribe and Save,
we subscribe to more things these days than we know we're subscribing to. In some ways, we don't see it as a subscription. It's a monthly fee we pay for access to something, or a phone,
apps. Apps, all types of different things. And we did some studies into it and did some early testing in the early 2000s, and then we kind of figured out that there is a young, fertile market, and I would say that's still the case, of people that want to consume travel as a subscription. And I'll give you one example. I mean, most people don't think of their American Express as a travel subscription product, but it really is. If you look at American Express's, I call it the continuum of travel clubs. I have this graph. And if you think of, you've got a green card, you've got a gold card, a platinum card, a centurion card, right? And they kind of all go up the value chain. The green card used to cost $75. I don't know what it is today. The gold card, $125, and it kind of ratchets up. You have the same charging privileges, whether you have the green card for $75 or the centurion card for $5,000, same charging privileges. The only thing that you get differently is level of service, and more importantly, the travel benefits. So if you really think about it, American Express and a lot of these premium credit card companies are really travel clubs. They're travel subscription programs.
Yeah. So we look at it from the point of view of the airline industry, and obviously airlines, you could argue, did invent the loyalty sector, if you like.
Yes.
I mean,
sure.
We associate the gaining of points with flying, and there are specific companies out there that span out of various airlines, and airlines have their own divisions that are all about this. So in some ways, the airline industry has been a pioneer of loyalty.
Sure.
Has it kept pace, do you think, though? Has it? I mean, they get accused of maybe not fostering loyalty these days quite as much as they could. So have they sort of somehow fell behind the rest and not quite kept up with the pace and the innovation in this area?
I think yes and no. I mean, you've hit the nail right on the head, Lee. Is these airlines were the creators of loyalty, and they did a fantastic job of really creating brand awareness, brand allegiance. But there's one thing that's really interesting that evolved over the years, and then I'm going back to my early days of travel distribution, is that particularly in the U.S., and this would hold true for other markets too, but with the big carriers, America, Delta, United, Southwest, they were able to get slots in airports, right? And that built to the allegiance. And through acquisitions, very smart acquisitions where all of these airlines, gobbled up other airlines,
Mm.
they began having a built-in allegiance. And I think that is even more well protected. So there's this government regulated kind of sense because there's only so many slots and gates, et cetera. And the airlines have made tremendous investments in the hardware of the facilities as well. But that wrapped around, or a loyalty program wrapped around that, really ensures that they kind of can truly own markets and can set pricing to a large degree to what they want.
Yeah, I suppose the challenge in airlines is that you don't have ubiquity. So I might be flying very different routes each time I fly, and therefore, if the particular airline I'm loyal to doesn't fly that route, then I can't be loyal to it. I have to find another
Yeah, sure.
provider. That's just the nature of airlines. But there are groups of airlines who you could be loyal to a group, but then, well, why not widen it to a hotel chain or a car hire chain? So you in travel, you can be loyal to lots of individual brands while
Yeah.
you're consuming one product, which is a trip.
Yeah, but even if you look at the big hotel brands like Marriott, last count, they have 27 sub brands, right?
Yeah.
So there is a price point in every market, even in London where you're based, which I travel to quite frequently. I think there's like 15 or 16 different represented Marriott brands, and there's probably hundreds of Marriott hotels in London. So there is something for everyone there within some of these hotel brands. But there's some airlines who've taken the step to the next level of subscription services as well. So you've got companies like Wizz Air, companies like Frontier that have created these subscriptions, kind of all you can eat or all you can fly type services as well.
Yeah. Yeah, we certainly see some airlines being quite innovative in this space. How do you see airlines faring in terms of what other providers, other sectors are doing in travel? I think of the likes of Expedia have got very big loyalty programs. They can offer a lot of product throughout the world, but also with a lot of brands. So are airlines trying to keep pace with that level of loyalty?
Yeah, I think so, and I think for the most part they're actually doing a really good job. They if you take an American Airlines, who I've got some allegiance to, even though they aggravate me from time to time, but I've got premier status with them. But they incentivize me to book my hotels through them, book my car rentals through them, and that's a component of the loyalty piece as well, because I can gain additional points by doing so. It's not always the best choice for the consumer, but for someone who is really kind of hooked on a specific loyalty program, it probably works for them.
Yeah. Well, one of the frustrations on loyalty programs is, and that's particularly related maybe to the airlines, is you accrue points. Sometimes it's quite hard to accrue enough points to make them particularly valuable, but you do accrue the points, and then it's kind of hard to spend them. And actually, I think that the facts are that in any loyalty scheme, there's a huge pool of points that are never claimed. They just sit there, never claimed at all. So is part of what's happening in loyalty giving customers ease of use, if you like? They're promoting the idea that you can spend these points in a more flexible manner.
Yeah, and I think the airlines have done a 360 on this. I mean, it used to be really tough to redeem points. You had to pick up the phone, and you would they had a frequent flyer desk, and you were waiting on hold forever. Then they started allowing electronic distribution. So at one point, you could actually book your points through a travel agency, which I don't think you can do any longer. But more importantly, is online. At the airlines' websites, you can book book points. You can, you can transfer points amongst alliances, British Airways, American, One World alliances, or some of the others. And then also your credit card programs. A lot of people earn, and myself included, a tremendous amount of points by credit card usage. And I can transfer my American Express points, not to every single program or to every single airline, but certainly quite a few, as well as hotel chains and car rental companies.
Yeah. Let's look at it from the customer's point of view. I guess people feel that maybe customers aren't very loyal when it comes to travel. I suppose they can be, but the customers are looking for price often. What do you think customers are looking for in order to stay loyal to a particular brand?
Well, I can tell you, so kind of, if you take loyalty to a deeper level, which is kind of the space that I play in, or Custom Travel Solutions does, which is more of a subscription space. So, you have loyalty with airlines where you get a free membership into, American Airlines Advantage program or British Airways Avios, whatever the case may be. But there's another level which you look for a deeper relationship, and that is where a customer actually pays you for services. So on one end, you've got the Wizz Air and Frontier, this kind of all you can fly. But Emirates has come out with a program where you can actually pay a price and get your level of frequent flyer elevated. So what they found, and I was at a loyalty conference last year, actually in London, that they were presenting this program, is that there are lots of premium customers who they want to have because they're buying business class tickets, oftentimes full time, but they only travel twice a year. But they want all the benefits that the guy that's flying, 20 times a year gets, but they can't achieve it because they only fly twice a year. But they're very valuable customers because they're paying that premium upfront price. Mm-hmm. So what they've done is they came out with a program that allowed the flyer to, and I don't remember what the number is, but for a few $100s, I think it was, to upgrade so that they got their top experience or next to top experience, and they got lounge access and some of the other things that go along above and beyond just what you get with the business class fare. So that's another way of doing things. And then my company also peppers in or gives organizations the ability to have a subscription travel program. So for an airline, as an example, and we're talking to several, they might want to add 24/7 concierge service. Maybe they want to add emergency medical evacuation insurance, where we'll send a private jet in if someone becomes hospitalized, things of that nature. So those are some things that airlines might think about. And we've got a whole array of those products or benefits that we can add into a program with, very little cost, that can really, you wouldn't attach it to all your frequent flyer programs, but you might attach it to your top tier guys.
Yeah. Okay.
So those are some ideas.
So we live in an era where people talk about personalization and everything's bespokeable and so on. So you actually are finding maybe that loyalty programs are being devised for a particular type of customer that is considered incredibly valuable, therefore will give them a certain amount of value in their loyalty program that we don't offer everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, loyalty, brands want loyalty, of course, who wouldn't, right? Yeah. And if you can, it's one thing for a consumer to get a free product, but if you can engage deeply with them, if you can hit that really right tone with that customer, you can actually ask them for money. And at that point, the whole dynamic changes, because then they're not shopping around. They feel loyalty. They feel a extended amount of loyalty to a brand where they'll even pay you, because they're paying you money each month or each year for this service, and they just don't shop around. I mean, they become hyper loyal, which is a really good thing for a brand.
One aspect, or a big aspect of loyalty in the digital age, has been the use of technology and actually the kind of user experience that can drive. So you think of this sort of the digital native brands that have come along. I guess Uber's the biggest example, that it's just such a slick way of booking and ordering and experiencing a taxi ride. that some
It's
people
just
just go,
better.
why would I use anything else now? Yeah, exactly. So it's also, it becomes like a verb for the actual, the noun for what you're doing, isn't it? So I mean, that's obviously, you know, an example of someone doing it at an amazing success level. However, everyone's trying to achieve this. So there's a lot of companies out there, I guess. How are they competing for customers' loyalty based on the experience they're giving them rather than just the product?
One thing that we did a really vast bit of research years ago, and we found what people are looking for. Travelers who are looking for a subscription product, which could be transposed into a high loyalty experience, are three things. One is value, right? So everybody wants good value. Value does not mean cheap. That's what a lot of people think of value as cheap. Value is not cheap. If you're sitting in business class and you're going from London to JFK, you don't want to hear that the guy beside you paid £1,000 for this ticket and you paid £3,000, right? You're experiencing a business class, a premium product, but you want good value, right? You also want assurance. So assurance with an A, not insurance, but assurance covers lots of things, but especially when people are traveling and particularly on leisure, they may only have 2 weeks a year for their holiday, right? These folks want to know when they're traveling to wherever they're going that the accommodations is going to be right, that it's going to be a clean, safe environment, and there's other values that people have, but they want to make sure those things are right. And they want to speak to someone, not a website, not an email. They want to speak to someone in case they do have a problem that they can get to, and that person has the ability and the power to solve the problem. So this is a big thing. There's a lot of talk about AI, and there's some great customer use cases. So don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, if somebody is in a place where they've worked really hard all year for this 2-week holiday, something goes wrong, they want to be able to talk to someone that can change it and fix things right away. So that's the second point. And the third point is people want access. So access is having the ability to do things that you did not think you were capable of doing. That could be lounge access. That could be, for airlines, getting upgrades occasionally. It could be a lot of different things. It could be on-ground experiences. It could be, hotel room upgrades, et cetera, et cetera. But people want this type of access, and they want to be recognized as a loyal member. So that's a very big part of the experience. I'm a top tier Marriott frequent stayer, and every time I check into a Marriott, which is very often, or a Marriott property, they will send a survey afterwards, and the first question that they ask is, how was your check-in experience, and were you recognized as a top tier, whatever they call it, titanium elite? And so that is a way to measure things, and that's very important to that particular brand, to make sure that at check-in everyone recognizes your status, because I think they found that means a lot to their loyal customers.
Yeah, you definitely see hotel chains. They do know a lot about their customers, and they're expecting them in the property so they can bespoke the experience. Airlines can do the same thing potentially. I mean, you sit down on a seat and there's a screen in front of you. It doesn't yet say hello, Mike. It doesn't yet say hello, Lee. We know what you want from this screen. We're going to, make sure that everything is as it is as you want it. Hotels are maybe a bit further ahead of that. At least the TV in your room will at least greet you by name. There's certain areas you think the airline industry's got it in front of it. It just needs to embrace this approach.
So American Airlines, and again, I'll use them as our guinea pig for this conversation, but I'm an executive platinum, they're top tier, and I fly them quite frequently in business class. And on a transatlantic route, a senior flight attendant came to me, or maybe the purser, and as she was walking down the aisle over a 8 or 9 hour flight, stopped by and said, "Mr. Putman, thank you for being an executive platinum." That was it. Nothing more. And I was, that meant so much to me. I don't know why that meant so much to me.
Yeah.
Just being recognized.
It's just sometimes small things can make a big impact, can't they?
Yeah, but especially for not American Airlines, but American carriers. I noticed flying to Europe, they generally have they're more mature flight attendants working those routes because they're the most desirable routes. And those people fly through the service, even in business class. They get it done as quick as they can so they can sit down, and then you pull the curtain back and they're on there, playing Sudoku, or I don't know what they're doing on their phone, but they do that. And if you compare that to certainly an Asian carrier or even European carriers, they're there for the service, but there's that little bit of loyalty of if even when you check in, thank you, Mr. Putman, for whatever your status is, or thank you for being a customer, just like such a simple thing that, and personally for me, and maybe that's not true for everyone, but for me, it really does work.
Yeah. I know you said that a lot of the value people have in their loyalty schemes is they want to speak to a human being, but technology is playing an increasing role because it can do a lot of the automation. It should make things better if it's deployed properly. What are you doing at Custom Travel Solutions? How are you embracing technologies like AI? I'm sure you're using that. I'm sure everybody is these days. But what are you doing with tech these days to improve loyalty?
Yeah, Lee. So first of all, let me, if I came off sounding condescending to AI, I did not mean to, because it is.
Don't annoy AI.
It is great. Yeah, I'm afraid of it. There might be some repercussions. No, but seriously, my point was, when people are having a real specific problem, they want to talk to a human. And maybe that'll change in 5 or 10 years as AI gets more polished. But how Custom Travel Solutions is using AI today is we are using it at certain points of the customer service interaction, because we're providing customer services for about 40 companies all over the globe in different languages. And we're using that quite effectively. However, we always, and I stress always, have a panic button or escape button if you want to speak to a human being. So our customers always have a point where they can push a button and they go straight to one of our highly trained agents. So that's one thing that we're using it for. The second thing, which is a really great idea, there's a product out of Germany called Cruise Watch, and forget the name, it doesn't match the product. But what this does is that sits on top of all of our customer service interactions. So whether it be a chat, whether it be an email, whether it be a phone call, it looks at all of these interactions, it transcribes the interaction, and it rates the interaction based on the customer sentiment. So what at Custom Travel Solutions, because customer service is so important to us, what we do is we have that monitoring all of our interactions. And if for some reason a customer sentiment scores below our cutoff, what we do is we have, again, a human being, a tier 2 person, pick up the phone, call that customer back and say, listen, it sounds like you didn't have the greatest experience of the world. How can I make that right? Now you think about that. I mean, if you've gone to Four Seasons or whatever the top experience, you bought a Lamborghini or whatever, that just doesn't happen in today's world, or never really has. Yeah. But we get interactive in trying to solve problems where there's a possibility we could have done a better job or we could have communicated better, but we want everybody 100% satisfied. So that's the second way. The third way is we have a product called reconfirm.ai, which is online. And this is a technology that we built to originally just to reconfirm hotels. So we're using AI to reconfirm anything from hair appointments to doctor appointments. But there was a real need, and there still exists a real need in the industry, to call the hotels, because hotels are being made through all these different channels. If you book through an OTA, it could be made through a bed bank, a tour wholesaler, all kinds of crazy things. And sometimes a consumer will show up to the hotel and they'll say, we don't have your reservation, Mr. Hayhurst. And that's very, does not make you feel good as a customer. No. So what our service does is 3 days before arrival, we call the hotel. Our AI actually calls the hotel and says, hey, we're calling from Custom Travel Solutions. We want to reconfirm Mr. Hayhurst that he's got a king suite checking in the 23rd of July for 2 nights. And we ask for the confirmation number back from the hotel directly, and that resolves the problem. So we were originally doing that with humans, but it was extremely expensive. But again, we pay for the extra experience for our customers because they're generally paying us a subscription fee. But we go above and beyond, and we were able to replace those costly humans with AI, which is not quite so costly.
Tell us who are your customers generally then? What's your sort of average customer look like?
So we're a SaaS platform. So our products is a subscription-based product which we sell to our clients, and then our clients generally sell it to their constituents or sell it as a product to their end customers.
Yeah.
So our clients are people like publishers, newspapers, magazines. They're HR benefit providers where they're providing additional benefits. Benefit platforms. There's some very large ones that we power parts of their travel game. Financial companies, like Revolut has a travel program. They're not one of our clients, but just to give you an idea, T-Mobile in the U.S. So there's lots. The subscription travel benefit really spans a lot of different industries. And then there's some people who are just really good at marketing. They're looking for a product. And so we put together a travel club, vacation club subscription for them, and they sell it and do extremely well.
Yeah. I know on your website, you've got a whole bunch of travel companies, airlines, accommodation providers, cruise lines that you work with, or that provide products for the subscription. Yes. Is there a kind of is there a limit there? I mean, do you provide exclusivity because you're trying to provide loyalty? How does that work?
So we're connected to most every provider directly or indirectly. Just to give you kind of a point of view, we have 2.8 million accommodations, which span hostels, 5-star resorts, vacation rentals, all types of things. So some of these hotels, I mean, this is one of the benefits of having a travel subscription. Some of the hotels provide what they call closed user group rates. So these are rates that they don't make available to the public. So if you think about it, if a hotel is doing really well, if they're carrying like a 72% occupancy rate, right? So what does that mean? That means that 28% of their hotel rooms go unsold. So an unused hotel room last night is worth what today? It's worth nothing, right? Because it went unsold. But if they can discreetly move some of that incremental revenue and incremental supply through a bespoke channel that's not available to the public, that's the key, then they're willing to do so, and they're willing to lower their price very significantly. So they'll pass those hotel rooms to us, and we sell them for them on scale. And so you would find typically a hotel that participates with us about a 27% discount off what you would find on booking.com or Expedia. That in and of itself for frequent travelers is enough to pay, $399 a year for a membership, because on a 1-week stay, you could save that much money. So that's one of the value adds that we're able to deliver, because all of our users are paying, they're behind, a login. But what the hotels don't want to do is they don't want to, Expedia to have this one price, us have this other price, and it be exposed. Because that's going to piss off the people who paid the higher rate.
Yeah. In the airline sector, it's somewhat different. You maybe don't have the dichotomy of published fares versus private. Maybe you do a little bit, but not maybe quite so. Yeah. So are airlines seeing this similar kind of benefit for the same reasons, or are there different reasons for airlines to use this to drive loyalty?
I would say a little bit different, and it's not as pronounced as hotels, for sure. You're absolutely right, but there is some private distribution that takes place. Some better rates. And this has shifted. It used to be the airlines would primarily push their discounts to ethnic-based groups, and so those, there used to be, if you were going to Turkey, you would call this travel agency because they had this special deal with Turkish Airlines, or something else. And today, that's not so much. It's more, there's some people that can move inventory discreetly, help fill up their planes, that they're looking to do deals with. So we're able to again save some of our some of our end members some money that way.
Yeah. Final thought on this then. In terms of airline loyalty in particular, where's it going for airlines? It sounds a bit like maybe the attempts to drive their own loyalty schemes it's quite challenging, and we've seen some changes of loyalty schemes over here, particularly with BA, that got a lot of criticism. So it's clearly challenging for the airlines to do it themselves. Is the future of loyalty that they work with third parties, and it's through third parties like yourselves that true loyalty comes?
I think I would say in general, I think the airlines have done a heck of a job.
Yeah.
And if you look at the balance sheets from the airlines that are public airlines, which most of them are, you can see the value of their loyalty program oftentimes exceeds the value of the airline itself. So I would say, in general, they've done a great job of kind of cornering off this group of customers and making them loyal. And I said making them is intentional, making them loyal to their brand. But I think they potentially face some challenges in the future if they don't innovate. One of the things that's kind of a key piece of loyalty is you got to continually offer new things. You've got to keep people engaged. You need to keep offering new benefits or keep offering new ways they can use your points or your loyalty points. And one thing that the airlines don't do a great job of, which I think is a huge opportunity, is they don't remind the customer what they've enjoyed in the past. So if I've taken my family on a business class trip last year to Zurich, and used points, then the airline should kind of remind you that. We have with our portals, we have a members savings tracker, and we keep that at the very top of the loyalty section of the site, and it reminds the customer, all right, I've actually saved this much money. And I think that would be like a very simple thing that airlines could do, and it really does reinforce the message of how valuable this program is. Because if you take a trip and you forget last year that I used points instead of dollars, you might forget it, but you should take advantage of that memory.
Yeah. Look, Mike, thanks for that. Our time is sadly up. I know when it comes to loyalty and sport, you're a big golfer, so you're I know you're heading over to our shores quite soon to experience a bit of golf.
Yes, and a bit of cool weather. Hopefully, it is boiling here in the U.S. So,
well, it's currently hot here, but it never stays that way for long, especially in Scotland. But enjoy that, Mike, and we'll hopefully speak to you again soon on ABNcast. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, Leo, such a pleasure speaking with you, and thanks so much for having me today.